Kindly Mwalimu, there is no sound.
There is something wrong with the sound. Even me, I have that problem. I thought it was my phone.
There's a problem on the sound.
Yeah. And now it's okay.
Okay, so we
Which
were
question are you doing?
we were to do a question. We do a question for May 2018. May 2018. Question number 3, part C. We got to the sitting of May 2018. Question number. So we can go through the question number 3, part C. I hope you can locate the question. It should be on page 48. I hope you can be able to locate the question. It is on page 48 and also page 49. So the question number 3, part C, it reads that Nangina Limited is considering acquiring Bwiri Limited. So Nangina Limited is considering acquiring Bwiri Limited. So Nangina Limited is contemplating financing of the acquisition of Bwiri Limited using any of the following options. Using any of the following options. So option 1, an ordinary share for ordinary share exchange. An ordinary share for the ordinary share exchange. That means it is equity financed because there was no initial capital structure. So that option 1, it is equity financed. So under that, the terms of acquisition are Nangina Limited will offer one of its ordinary share for every 2 shares or in Bwiri Limited. Then option 2, ordinary shares of the debentures, ordinary shares for the debenture exchange. So now that there is already debentures, and normally before a company is formed, it must have equity, the ordinary shares. So that option 2, it will be equity and debt financed. That option 2, it will be equity and debt financed. So they expect to offer 2 units of 10% debentures for every 100 ordinary shares in Bwiri Limited. So each unit of the debenture has a bar value of 100 shillings each. So the summarized financial information relating to the 2 companies for the year ended 30th November 2017 was as follows. So they gave you profit after tax for Nangina Limited and also Bwiri Limited. You are given number of the shares, earning per share, market price per share, price earning ratio, corporate tax rate is 30%. Now required, determine the combined operating profit. So operating profits is the earning before interest and tax of the 2 firms and also the post-acquisition earning per share at the point of indifference. So they simply want you to calculate earnings before interest and tax and also the earning per share at the point of indifference in the 2 firms' earnings under financing option 1 and option 2. So at the point of indifference, so we know that at the point of indifference, we know that earning per share for option 1 must be the same as earning per share for option 2. So we start off by analyzing option 1. So that option 1, the company is all equity financed. It is all equity financed. Firm. The firm is all equity financed. So if it is all equity financed, remember earning per share for that option one, earning per share for that option one will simply be earnings before interest and tax, 1 minus the tax rate. Then we divide by number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares. So what we are interested in is simply the number of the ordinary shares, because in this case, we don't know the earnings before interest and tax. So to compute the number of the ordinary shares, we go under option one, an ordinary share for ordinary shares exchange. So under the terms of acquisition, Nangina Limited will offer one of its ordinary share for every 2 shares in Wiri Limited. So we need to get the new shares to be issued in order to acquire the other company. So new shares to be issued. New shares to be issued to acquire the other company. New shares to be issued. So to compute the new shares to be issued, it is that for every one ordinary share, it acquires 2 shares of the target. That's now the exchange ratio. So 1 share will be equivalent to the 2 shares of the target. When you want to acquire the other company, you give 1 share in order to get 2 shares. But when you check down there, Wiri Limited has got how many number of ordinary shares? The number of the shares for Wiri Limited, you can see the 6 millions. So it has 6 million ordinary. So how many shares were issued to acquire now the 6 million? Because they give 1 share in order to acquire 2 shares of the target, which is Wiri Limited. But now Wiri has got 6 millions. So how many shares are they going to issue? So we cross multiply. When you cross multiply, it will be the same as 6 million multiplied by 1 divided by 2. So that's it is 6 million shares. Yeah. So after that, now you can get the total number of the shares. You can now get the total shares. So to get the total shares, currently, are you able to see Nangina Limited? Nangina Limited currently it has how many shares? It's gonna 20 million shares. So you take the 20 million shares, then you add those new shares to be issued in order to acquire the target. So to get the total shares, when we are using that option, it has 20 million shares, but it is issuing 3 million shares to acquire the other company. So total shares now under that option for the Nangina will be 23 million. Yeah. To finance the acquisition, they are giving additional shares. Currently, they have 20 million shares. So if they acquire the other company, they will issue out 3 million shares. So total shares, when it acquires the other company, will be a total of 23 million shares. Now, after that, we go back to our formula. Earning per share for option 1 will be equal to earnings before interest and tax, 1 minus the corporate tax. The corporate tax rate was given as 30%. Then, now the number of the shares are 23 million shares. So finally, our equation will simply be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax divided by 23 million shares. That's now our formula for option 1. That's now our formula for option 1, because we use this part, earnings before input. So the corporate tax rate was given as 30%. So when you take 1 minus 0.3, it will give us 0.7. So our final equation will now be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. Then we divide by 23 million shares. So we leave it hanging like that. We create also the equation for option 2. Then we shall equate them to get that earnings before interest and tax. Let us now go to option 2 and create another formula. Let us also go to option 2. Then we also create now another formula. We also go to option 2. Now also go to option 2. Then we create another formula. So this is now our option 2. So option 2, that farm will be equity and debt finance. It will be equity and debt financed farm. It will be equity and debt financed farm. So it will be equity and debt financed farm. When it is equity and debt financed, earning per share for option 2, earning per share for option 2 will be equal to earnings before interest and tax. We subtract interest, then 1 minus the corporate tax, divided by number of the shares. Number of the shares. So we start off by computing the interest. We start off by calculating interest. So to compute interest under option 2, they have said that Nangina Limited is expected to offer 2 units of 10% debentures for every 100 ordinary shares in Query Limited. So each unit of the debenture has a bar value of how much? 100 shares. So first, let us compute the number of the debentures. Let us first of all compute the number of the debentures. Yes, option 1 was all equity financed. Someone is saying option 1, you said all equity financed only. Yes, that's what we have done. Option 1, it was all equity. We never included interest anywhere. So the one I'm explaining is option 2. Yeah, we have gone to option 2. Yes, when you read there, you will see the difference. In option 1, to finance the other company, they were giving additional shares. But for option 2, to acquire the other company, they are issuing debentures. And it is by common sense that before a company is formed, it should have what? Ordinary shares. So even if they have not mentioned that it has ordinary shares, it's obvious it has. A company must have ordinary shares. So when it acquires the other company using debentures, now it becomes equity and debt financed. So they are different. The two options are different. For option 2, they have said that to acquire the other company, it is ordinary shares for debentures exchange. Debenture is debt. Debenture is debt. That's why it will be equity and debt finance. So that now we compute interest. But before we calculate this interest, let us first get the number of the ordinary shares. Sorry, the number of debentures. We need to get the number of debentures. We need to get the number of debentures. We need to get the number of debentures. So when it comes to the number of debentures, they have stated that Nangina expect to offer 2 units of the 10% debentures. So 2 debentures debentures should be equal to 100 ordinary shares. It should be equal to 100 ordinary shares. But we know that we really had how many ordinary shares? There were 6 million ordinary. So how many debentures were issued? How many debentures were issued? So to get the debentures that were issued, take 6 million multiplied by 2, divide by 100. Get 6 million multiplied by 2, divide by 100. We get to 120,000. So now after that, we calculate the interest. Now from there, we compute the interest. So to get the interest, we take 120,000 debentures. They had given you the bar value per debenture. Are you able to see the bar value? Each unit of the debenture has a bar value of how much? 100 shillings. Then interest rate was given to you as 10%. When you check up there, the interest rate is meant to be 10%. So now from there we get the total amount of interest. How much will now be our interest? 1.2 million. So once we have done that, we can now come back up here to get our equation. Get now our equation. So earning per share for option 2 will be earnings before interest and tax. So interest, yes, it is 1.2 million. Then 1 minus 0.3. We divide by the number of the ordinary. So ordinary shares are only those for Nangina Limited. Because to acquire the other company, it has given debentures. So when you check under Nangina Limited, it has how many ordinary shares? Yeah, the number of the ordinary shares are 20 million. You can indicate that. So number of the ordinary shares are 20 million. The ones that are currently in the company. The ones that are currently in the company, but see Nangina Limited, number of the shares are 20 million. So to acquire the other company now, it is giving debentures. So total shares after it has acquired the other company will simply be the one it has at the moment, which is 20 million shares. Yeah. So to acquire the other company, it has borrowed to buy. Debenture is like buying using a debt. So the shares after it has acquired will just be those shares that it had before. The shares that it had before. So the number of the ordinary shares will be 20 million. The ones that it had before it was able to acquire the other firm. So we can now open the brackets. We should now open the brackets. When we open the brackets, it will be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. Then also 0.7 multiplied by 1.2 million to give us sorry. 0.84 million. So we divide by 20 million. So that is now our equation for option 2. So now we equate them together. We now equate them together. At the point of indifference, earning per share for option 1 will be earning per share for option 2. So option 1, it was 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. Divide by 23 shares. So option 2 we have seen it is 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. We subtract 0.48, 0.84 millions, also divide by 20 years. So cross multiply and make earnings before interest and tax to be the subject. Cross multiply. Cross multiply. So cross multiply and make the earnings. Cross multiply and make the earnings before interest and tax to be the subject. And say it will give you which here. So I've seen 9.2 million online. 9.2. So now confirm the earning per share. So we now confirm the earning per share for the two options. So this 280,000. The earnings before interest and tax. 0.28. Earning per share 0.28. Sorry. Hiyo ni kubwa sana. Very confirm. Earning per share lazima kakue kadogo when you divide by the number of the shares. So they are saying it is 0.28. Yeah. So it is 0.28. So we can now go to another question. Let us now check the question for, we can now finalize on the other question. question, which was for November 2017. So we can now go to November 2017, question 4, part A. November 2017, question number 4, part A. November should be on page 53. When you check page 53, you will now get the question for November 2017. Question number 4, part A. So that question 4, part A, it reads that 2 CPA graduates have formed a company to write, market, and distribute textbooks and revision manuals. He said, go to page 53. The question is November 2017, question number 4, part A. So, 2 CPA graduates have formed a company to write, market, and distribute textbooks and revision manuals. Textbooks and the revision manuals. The company's textbook and revision manuals have already been piloted, and the market prospects are good. Have already been piloted, and the market prospects are good. All that is lacking is adequate financing to continue the project. All that is lacking is adequate financing to continue the project. So, a small group of private investors is interested in financing the new company. So 2 financing options are being evaluated. So number 1, financing option 1, they have said that this is an all equity capital structure. This is an all equity capital structure. So 3 million will be raised by selling the ordinary shares at $40 per share. Then number 2, financing option 2. This will involve the use of financial leverage. That is, 1 million will be raised by selling the corporate bond with an effective interest rate of 14% per annum. The remaining 2 million will be raised by selling ordinary shares at 40 shillings per share. So the use of the financial leverage is considered to be permanent part of the firm's capital. So no fixed maturity date is needed for this analysis. So that option 2, it is equity and debt financed. It is equity and debt, because they have said that 1 million corporate bond, 2 million ordinary shares. Now it is equity and debt financed. So note number 3, the corporate tax rate applicable is 30% required. Roman letter 1. Find the operating profit at the point of indifference associated with the 2 financing options. That is simply earnings before interest and tax at the point of indifference. Number 2, construct earning per share, earnings before interest and tax graph for the 2 financing option. Then also the range of the operating profit within which each financing plan will be recommended. So what we do, we shall first get the earnings before interest and tax at the point of indifference. Then I will show you how to construct a graph from that information. I will show you how to construct a graph from the information. So we start with the option 1. We start off with option 1. So that firm is all equity finance. Under option 1, it is all equity. All equity finance firm. When it is called equity financed firm, when it is called equity financed firm, earning per share, earning per share, earning per share for option 1 will be earnings before interest and tax. Then 1 minus the tax rate divided by number of the ordinary shares divided by the number of the ordinary shares divided by the number of the ordinary shares. So what we need to do is to get the number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares. So those number of the ordinary shares, you can see under option 1, to raise the 3 million. So you take 3 million, each share is selling at how much? 40. So you take 3 millions divided by 40. Divided by 40. So that will give you the number of the ordinary shares. So we get 75,000 ordinary shares. So now in our equation, it will be earnings before interest and tax, 1 minus 0.3 divided by 75,000. So that formula will be the same as 0.7 earnings before interest and tax divided by 75,000. That's now option 1. That's now our option 1. So let us now go to option 2. Let us now go to option 2. So option 2, they have said it is equity and debt financed. We now go to option 2. Option 2 is equity and debt financed. Option 2 is equity and debt financed. So now check option 2. It's equity and debt. So when it is equity and debt financed, earning per share for option 2 will be earnings before interest and tax. We subtract interest 1 minus the corporate tax. We divide by number of ordinary shares. Divide by the number of shares. So we start by getting interest. Start off by. So they were issuing a corporate bond under option 2. They say 1 million will be raised by selling the corporate bond. So we get 14% of 1 million. So get 14%. 14% of 1 million. Then we also compute the number of the ordinary shares. Also compute number of ordinary shares. So number of ordinary shares the number of the ordinary shares. So they were raising 2 million. So it is 2 million. The bar value per share is given as what? So divide by 40. So now in our equation, earning per share for option 2, it will be earnings before interest and tax. We subtract interest, which is 140,000, then 1 minus 0.3, then we divide by 50. So it will be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. Then also 140,000 not by 0.7. So that is so that is now our equation 2. So now we equate them together so that we come up with the earning per share, earnings before interest and tax. So now at the point of indifference, earning per share option 1 should be equal to earning per share for option 2. So option 1, it was 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. Divide by 75,000. Now this one, 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. Subtract 98,000. Divide by 50. So cross multiply and make earnings before interest and tax to be the subject. Cross multiply and make earnings before interest and tax to be the subject. And also compute the earning. So I can see a figure of 3.92. So once we have that, we should also compute, or that's the earning per share. Yeah, so we have two items there, earning per share for option 1. So it is 0.7. So earnings before interest and tax was 420. So it is 420 by 75, which is 3.92. Yeah. So the same case for option 2, which is supposed to be 0.7. And you divide by 50. So you are saying this one is also 3.92. But you want to draw a graph. So to draw a graph, you require 3 points. 3 points in order to construct a graph. So at the point of indifference is 1 point. So the other point should be above the point of indifference, another one below the point of indifference. So there is no rule on how to identify the one above and the one below. The only thing we normally do, like now, we got earnings before interest and tax of 420,000. Simply get a half of that to get the one below. So you want to plot a graph. So to get this earnings per share, we had used 420, which was the point of indifference. We require another point below. So the one below, simply take your earnings before interest and tax and divide by 2 to get a half of it. Then you get the new earning per share. Then another one should be above. So the one above, you add that half to go up. So that's now the easiest way to get the 3 points, so that we plot them on the graph. There is no specific rule, but the ideal situation is that to get the 3 points, get a half of your earnings before interest and tax, get the earning per share, the one below. Then the one above, add that half on the point of indifference to get the graph. So that we plot them on the graph. We only require 3 points to plot a graph. So what I will do, I will simplify the details in this manner. We shall simplify those details in this manner. So currently we have earnings before interest and tax. Then earning per share for option 1, earning per share for option 2, like that. So we have started with the one with the point of indifference. When it was 420,000, all of them have given you 3.92. 3.92. So that is now what we have. So to get the one below, I'm saying we get half of the 420. Half of 420 will be 210. So we put there 210. So we come here, we replace this figure by 210. 210 to get the new earning per share. So compute the two earning per share for each option. Option 1 should be 1.3. So they are not the same because it is not the point of indifference. The 210 is not the point of indifference, so they will not be the same. the earning per share for each one. How about the one for option 2? Hii hapana nyingine confirm hapa. That's 0.715210, then divide by 75. 1.96. Yeah. How about this other one? So 0.98. So we also require another point above. So the one above, we just add this half on the point of the difference, which will be 600 and that was 630, isn't it? Yeah, so we also check the one for 630. So we replace this one 630, then get the new hand special. Sorry. 5.88. 5.88. This other one should be 6.8. So that is how you get the 3 points. So that we now apply them to construct the graph. Want now to construct a graph using those points. Now construct a graph using those points. Now construct a graph using those points. So we need a scale for that. We need to come up with a scale for that level. So when we shall be plotting those details of the graph, on the y-axis, we shall be having earning per share. But on the x-axis, will be earnings before interest and the tax. On the y-axis will be earning per share. Then on the x-axis will be earnings before interest and the tax. So we want to create a very simple scale. The highest earning per share is 6.8. Then the lowest is 0.9. So we can create a scale of 0.5. So that we go up to the maximum of 7. So in my scale, this one will be 0. So 0.5, 1.0, 1.5, then 2.0, 2.5, 3.0, 4.0, 5, 5.0, 5.5, 6.0 and 6.5. So you can go up to 7. You can create up to 7. So create up to 7.0. Create up to 7.0. So you create up to 7.0. Then this one will be earnings before interest and the tax. We now have the earnings So someone is asking, where are we getting 630 and also 210? So I had said that we require 2 points, one above and another one below the point of indifference. So the easiest way to do that, you are to get a half of 420. You remember the 420? You remember the 420,000, which was the earnings before interest and tax. Are you able to notice that? A half of 420,000 will be 210. Then go to the formulas, use 210 as your earnings before interest and tax to get the earning per share. Then another point should be above. The one above, you add that half on the 420. That's how we are getting 630. So is it clear at that point? Someone had asked, where are we getting the 630 and 210? So let us now create the scale for the earnings before interest and tax. So the highest earnings before interest and tax is 630. The lowest is 210. So we also create a scale on that. So I will reduce these figures by 3 zeros. So that I will be having 100,000, 200,000, then 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, also 700. So let us now start with the option 1. We start off by plotting option 1. So option 1, when earnings before interest and tax is 420. So 420 is likely to be there. 420 will be there. When it is 420, earning per share is 3.92. Earning per share is 3.92. So 3.92 is almost 4. It's almost at that point 4. So we locate that point. Locate that point. Locate that particular point. Locate that particular point. So then see 420 3.92. So we locate the point. Then we go to 210. So when it is 210, 210 is at this point. 210 is at that level. So it is 1.96. So 1.96 is almost 2. So we also get that point. Also get that position. Then after that, there is also 630. So 630 will be roughly somewhere there. When it is 630, it is 5.88. So 5.88 is closer to 6.0. So we also get that position. Also get that position. That is now option 1. That is now our option 1. That is now meant to be our option 1. So now we plot option 2. Now plot option. Remember, earnings before interest and tax are the same. Yeah. When it was 420, they were the same. You see? So when they were 420, earnings per share were the same. So it is still that point for option 2. It is also still at that point for option 2. Then when it is 210, 210, it is 0.98. So 0.98 is like 1. So they should be on the same line because they have the same earnings. But now this one is like 1. This one is like 2. So they are also the same earnings before interest and tax. Then the other one is 6.86. When it is 63. So 6.86, it is almost 0.7. It is almost 7 at that level. So we want now to draw those. So you join them using a ruler. You see option 1. Option 1, it was this one here. So you just join them using a ruler. Option 2, you also join the 3 points using a ruler. So this one is option 2. This one is option 1. So we plot them on the basis of that. Online, are you able to follow? Those who are online, confirm whether you are able to follow what we are doing. So that is how you can plot it on the graph. That is now how you will be able to plot that information on the graph. So they were asking you to give the range. They were asking you Roman letter 3, because that was Roman letter 2. Roman letter 3, they wanted you to explain the range of the operating profit within which each financing option above will be recommended. Each financing option above will be recommended. So you want to recommend which financing option. So you see, you can even use that information. We recommend the one the highest earning per share. So at the point of indifference and below it is at 210. You see option 1 has a higher earning per share of 1.96. But above the point of indifference, which is 630, you see option 2 has a higher earning per share. So at the point of indifference and below, option 1 will be selected because it has a higher earning per share. Then above the point of indifference, we shall be selecting option 2 because it has a higher earning per share. We normally explain it from that order. So in the Roman letter 3, we can comment that at the point of indifference and below, at the point of indifference and below, i.e., where earnings before interest and tax, where the earnings before interest and tax is below 420,000, is below 420,000, we select option 1. 400 is below 420,000. Sorry. So Masama, at the point of indifference and below, i.e., where earnings before interest and tax is below 420,000. It is below 420,000. Select option 1. Select option 1. Select option 1 since it has a higher earning per share. Select option 1 since it has a higher earning per share. Then another paragraph is that above the point of indifference, above the point of indifference, above the point of indifference, i.e., where earnings before interest and tax, where the earnings before interest and tax is above 420,000. If it is above 420,000, 420,000, comma, select option 2. Select option 2. Select option 2 since it has a higher earning per share. Select option 2 since it has a higher earning per share. Select option 2 since it has a higher earning per share. So you can see that at 630, option 2 has 6.86, but option 1 has what? 5.88. But below the point of indifference, that is 210. Option 1 has 1.96, but option 2 has 0.98. So even from there, you can simply be able to explain. So that's now all for the point of indifference. So we are still on the financing decision. We are still on the financing decision. Now we can have a subtopic as cost of capital. We can now have a subtopic as cost of capital. We can now have a subtopic there as the cost of capital. We can now have a subtopic as the cost of capital. So when it comes to the cost of capital, we can summarize that this is the required rate of return it is the required rate of return by the investors. This is the required rate of return by investors who have provided funds to the company. This is the required rate of return by the investors who have provided funds to the company, who have provided the funds to the company. They include cost of equity. They include the cost of equity. Number two, so number one was cost of equity. Number two will be cost of the preference share. Number two will be the cost of the preference share. Number three will be cost of debenture. Number three should be the cost of the debenture. Number three. So we start with the first one, which is cost of equity. So let us start with the cost of equity. We now go to the cost of equity. Go to the cost of equity. So when it comes to the cost of equity, we summarize that equity refers to the shareholders' funds. Equity refers to the shareholders' funds. Equity refers to the shareholders' funds. And it can be categorized into two as follows. It can be categorized into two as follows. It can be categorized into two as follows. So Roman letter one will be ordinary share capital. Roman letter one will be ordinary share capital. Roman letter two will be the retained earnings. Roman letter two will be the retained earnings. Roman letter two will be the retained earnings. So we start with the Roman letter one as the ordinary share capital. As the ordinary share capital. So under the ordinary share capital, we summarize that ordinary shares are classified into two as follows. 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 Are classified into two as follows. As follows. So we start with A. A will be zero dividend. Zero dividend. Growth rate. Ordinary shares. Ordinary shares. Ordinary shares. Zero dividend growth rate. Ordinary shares. So I'm not going to explain what we mean by the zero. What I'm interested is to give you the cost of capital. How to calculate the cost of capital, where the ordinary share has no changes in the dividends. So the cost of capital will be KE. So KE should be equal to G divided by PO minus F. I'll be explaining what each one of them stands for. So that one is the cost of capital. I'm simply giving you the formulas on how to get the cost of capital when an ordinary share has a constant dividend growth rate. So where KE is the cost of capital, KE is the cost of capital, then D is the dividend per share. So that particular D will be the dividend per share. Then PO is the current market price per share. That particular PO will be the current market price per share. Then F will be the flotation cost. So D is the dividend per share. PO is the current market price per share. Then F will be simply with the flotation cost. So that is now the zero dividend. Yeah. PO is the current market price per share. Then D is the dividend per share. F is the flotation cost. So that is now how we shall be getting the cost of the ordinary share in case it is zero dividend growth rate. Then we can also get the one with the constant dividend. Constant dividend. Ordinary shares. Constant dividend. Ordinary shares. So when it is constant dividend growth rate, ordinary shares. So KE will be given by DO, then in the brackets of 1 plus G divided by PO minus the flotation cost and G. So this will finally be D1 divided by PO minus F and G. So KE will now be equal to DO in the brackets of 1 plus G divided by PO minus the flotation cost. Then we add G. The same like that. So where DO is the last dividend paid. So where DO is the last dividend paid. DO is the last dividend paid. And if G is the constant growth rate. G is the constant growth rate. G is the constant growth rate. Then F will be the flotation costs. F is the flotation cost. Then this particular D1, now when it comes from there, it comes to D1. You see the D1 there. It's coming from. So D1 is the next dividend to be paid. D1 will be the next dividend to be paid. D1 is meant to be the next dividend to be paid. So PO, we know it is the current market price per share. That PO is simply the current market price per share. So that is now about number 1, which was ordinary share capital. So let us go to number 2 as the retained earnings. We had said that equity is classified into 2, ordinary share capital and retained earnings. So let us now write something brief on the retained earnings. We can now write something brief on the retained earnings, about the retained earnings. So for the retained earnings, you summarize that are internal source of finance. They are internal source of finance. They are internal source of finance, which will not attract the flotation cost. They are internal source of finance, which will not attract the flotation cost, which will not attract the flotation cost. Therefore, the cost of the retained earnings. Therefore, the cost of the retained earnings is the same as the cost of the ordinary share. The cost of the retained earnings is the same as the cost of the ordinary share, except that there will be no flotation cost. Except that there will be no flotation cost. Except that there will be no flotation costs. And we continue by writing that it is calculated as follows. It is calculated as follows. It is calculated as follows. So we start with A. So A, remember I've said that the cost for the ordinary share is the same as the one for the retained, and except no flotation cost. So I repeat what I've just written on the board. I start with A, here we say that in case of, so here we say in case of, so we start with as in case of, so in case of 0 dividend growth rate ordinary share. So I will only change this one to KR. So KR is now the cost for the retained earnings. But the formula will be, then I remove the flotation cost. I remove the flotation cost. Then D, we can also have it in case of constant dividend growth rate ordinary share. So this will be KR. Then we remove the flotation cost. So everything remains, but the cost for the retained earnings will be KR. Then I do away with the flotation cost. So KR is now the cost for the retained earnings. Then now we remove those particular flotation costs. We remove the flotation costs. So everything remains. We have only done away with the flotation cost. Then the cost for the retained earnings is the same as KR. The cost of the retained earnings will be the same as KR. So that is now number 1, which was cost of equity. Number 2 was the cost of the preference share. So even that one, I'll simply give you the formula. So number 2 is the cost of the preference share. The cost of the preference share. So under the cost of the preference share, the formula will be KB. So KB is the cost of the preference share. KB is the cost of the preference share. It is supposed to be given by T divided by PO minus the flotation cost. And we express it as a percentage. So to get the cost of the preference share, we will simply take, this is the dividend on the preference shares. This one is the current market price of the preference share. Then you subtract the flotation cost. Then we express it as a percentage. So this is the cost for the preference share, dividend on the preference share, the current market price of the preference share. Then we subtract the flotation cost. Then we express it as a percentage. So that is now for the cost of the preference share. So the next one was the cost of the debenture or bond. So the next one is meant to be cost of the debenture or the bond. So when we meet now in the next class, we shall start on the cost of the debenture or the bond. We can stop there for today. When we meet, we shall now go to the cost of the debenture or the bond. We shall now go to the cost of the debenture or the bond. So we can stop there for now.